Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to a Brilliant Businesses podcast. My name's Nick Bryant, and I'm really pleased to be joined today, and honoured and proud to be joined today by Stevie Rice, who is the CEO of West Kent Mind. Hello, Stevie.
Hi, thanks so much for that. That's really, no one's ever said that before.
Well, it's a pleasure, and I mean it. A little bit about West Kent Mind and what they do. Now, you're there to ensure that people experiencing mental health problems get the support and the respect that they really deserve, and through your support services. And on your website, it says it's your mission to help individuals get well, stay well, and thrive, which is really important. Before we get into things, I want to hear about you and why you do what you do, and what's led you to become the CEO of this wonderful charity.
It's really hard to kind of go back and think, well, why do I do what I do? I mean, I probably, I'm not going to take you back into the distant past, but I probably was one of those kids that was the one that was raising money for people in Africa, and I remember fundraising for Oxfam and UNICEF and things like that when I was young. And sending money off to, doing all sorts of, sponsored things and bake sales and all of that. So I think I probably always had this, I don't know, what would you call it, like a philanthropic heart, a desire to help people or nurture people. And I think that moved into much more of a kind of empowering space where it was less about helping people, but more about supporting people to be the best that they can be, and supporting them to be magnificent and wonderful. And I think when you look at our strapline, which is get well, stay well, thrive, that kind of reflects all of that ambition. So it's not really about just getting people well and making sure people can manage their mental health, but at West Kent Mind, we're really committed to this idea of ambition and thriving and flourishing and enriching people's lives, so that mental health doesn't necessarily mean, oh, you've got a mental health issue, poor you, woe is you, that's that. It's all about saying, how are you going to use your experiences of potentially real great hardship or difficulty or challenge in your life, how are you going to use that to kind of nurture the rest of your life, or to nurture others, or to support others.
Sort of turn things into positives, I guess.
Well, completely. It's about that. And and we're not so flippant to say that people with severe mental illness that's a really easy thing to do, but it is an ambition that we want people to have the very best life, and to live with their mental health whatever that looks like, in a way that suits them. So I guess I was always kind of interested in that side of things, people being supporting people to help themselves and be the best they can be.
And did you have a corporate role somewhere? Not to go too much about you started here and finished there, not to your CV, but have you been working in corporate? You mentioned London earlier.
No, never. Never worked in the corporate field at all. So I've worked
probably just as well.
It's curious, really, because I suppose I've worked in charities for 30 years.
Right.
So and before that, I had a very short stint working within a local authority. My first sort of proper job working as a youth arts worker, running a youth arts centre.
Right.
So I've probably been always in this field. So I've never really had that opportunity to kind of work, in a corporate sector and understand how that operates.
Maybe that's good, because I was going to say, maybe if you did, maybe you've brought some of those skills to what you're doing now, but maybe those skills that you would have had in a corporate job probably wouldn't maybe not work right now in what you're doing because of the way you are. And
I don't know. I mean, I would have relished, the understanding the corporate sector better than I do now. I always find it quite an intimidating sector because I've never worked in it. So that's quite curious for me. But I think, I've always been really passionate about charity, really passionate about the voluntary sector, because I think it's woefully underfunded. I think there's so much that we can do. There's so much incredible work that happens across Kent, and I'm part of the Mind Federation, so, and I see the work that happens nationally with people with mental health issues, and it's extraordinary. I cannot think of wanting to work in another sector, really. I'm very, very proud and passionate advocate of charity.
I can tell. And did you go into West Kent Mind as CEO, or did you work your way through learning other parts of the role?
No, I went in as CEO,
Okay.
but before that I worked for an organisation called Kent Wildlife Trust.
Right.
I was their Director of Engagement, and before that I was the Chief Exec of a disability arts organisation.
Okay, all right.
So I worked for a couple of disability arts organisations.
Yeah.
So I was always kind of interested in how can I steer the boat really? How can
Yeah.
I navigate the waters and I suppose if you take my background in youth arts, I was interested in, on the ground arts engagement with young people, and a lot of those youngsters I was working with had a lot of very profound issues. And then working within the disability sector, it was about saying, okay, lots of challenges here. How do we overcome that? And how do we ensure that society looks at disabled people in a completely different way? Because, that was what's needed. We needed a real change in society's thinking about disability and access.
Yeah.
So this was really a natural progression for me to move on from, giving people the support that they needed to be the best that they can be.
Yeah, excellent. One thing that I'm confused about, and I don't know if anyone else is, but West Kent Mind, so is there an East Kent Mind? Is there a Sussex Mind? Is there a Surrey Mind? How does that work?
So there was a national organisation called Mind, and Mind, we are part of a federation. So that means that over the England and Wales, I think there's about 101 local minds at the moment.
Right.
So each and every one of them is affiliated to the national organisation, and we use their brand and we work very, very closely with them. But every single charity, every single local mind is an independent organisation with its own board of trustees. It has to raise its own funding.
Right.
We deliver locally. So it's a beautiful model in lots of ways. It was a model I wasn't really sure about when I came into working with Mind. I was thinking, am I not really going to have a say in how things are run and how things are managed? But actually, we've got the very best in terms of local provision. What we can do is we can deliver locally. So we absolutely know, hand on heart, what our community needs.
Right.
But we've got the weight of a national organisation behind us who are lobbying government and are advocating on behalf of people with mental health issues at a national level. So you bring those two things together, and what you end up with, I think, is a very robust local mind organisation. Yeah. So are there other local minds? Yes, there are.
Okay.
And there are actually 5 in Kent.
Is there? Right. Okay.
So there's North, East, South, West, and Mid Kent, and we all work really closely together.
Right. Okay.
We're all independent organisations.
Yeah. With different capture areas, I guess, because people come into the centre, don't they? And that you've got spaces in the centre where they can talk and have some time. So I guess if they're local to that, it works, and if they're local to the other one, they go to the other one.
Absolutely, I mean, we tend to work at West Kent Mind. We do some work within our wellbeing centre in Sevenoaks, but mostly we're out and about in the community now.
Right.
So we're using village halls, or if we have to use a pub, or we have to use spaces and places that are local to people. We want to go where people find it more comforting and accessible to be. So we operate all over, really.
Okay, and you must have a big team around you or that work with you.
I wish I had a big team.
Or is it just you?
No, it's not just me. I mean, I have a team of people, and they are extraordinary and wonderful people. But as you know, the need in West Kent is immense.
Of course.
So whatever size team I have at the moment, and it's not as big as I'd like it to be, but we could always do more.
Yeah.
So there's probably about 90,000 people generalised in West Kent who would probably have a mental health problem.
Is that the figure? 90,000?
About 90,000. So that's, out of a population of 360,000. So a small organisation like West Kent Mind, there's a limit to what we can do with the resources we have.
Yeah.
So much of our strategy is about how can we empower other people, our clients or our staff or our volunteers, people in the community, to have those conversations with people and to make a difference when we can't reach everyone.
Because out of that 90,000, I wonder how many of them actually have got a problem but don't say anything.
A huge number. I think there's a lot of stigma attached to people reaching out for support, and there doesn't need to be, because probably a quarter of the people that we come into contact with will have a mental health problem at some point. So I think it can be challenging for people to ask for the help that they need. And I think coupled with that, it's also difficult when people might not necessarily get the support that they need within the time frame that they need it. And we can see that in statutory services, in terms of, the health sector. It's very difficult to get that support. So we play a really vital role giving that support to people when they need it. And that's critical for them.
And you rely on fundraising, basically, for people to donate and
absolutely.
to always thinking of new ideas to get more money in.
I mean, we're a local charity, obviously, and we rely heavily on our local community. So there are always people, brilliant, extraordinary, wonderful, selfless people that will come to us and say, I want to jump out a plane for you. I mean, not literally, but literally they do. But they're raising money. And
they've got a parachute.
They've got a parachute. Exactly. That's exactly what I mean. So we've got people that do that, and that's amazing. Or they walk on fire, or they do bake sales, or they run marathons or half marathons, and that's extraordinary. And we really rely on that. So we're extraordinarily grateful for those people that do that, because it's just an amazing thing to do.
You wouldn't be able to do the great work that you do if you didn't have that coming in. If someone was to give you a big pot of money, I mean a big pot, what would you do with it? If it wasn't money involved, this might be a difficult question, but what would you do? How could you really change people's lives?
I think for me at the moment, that what I'm seeing and I'm acutely aware of is the fact is this widening inequality that we're seeing in society.
Right, okay.
Now, I mean, on a very kind of basic level, I don't believe that there would be any charity would need to exist if there was a real sense of equality in society.
Agreed.
I don't think that's where we are, and I think because there is a huge number of inequalities, charities are there to pick up the pieces. I think in terms of mental health, what we saw, in terms of COVID and the cost of living, it's always those people who are disadvantaged in society that end up being more disadvantaged. And so it's a cycle that's just going down for people, And so if I had more money for West Kent Mind, I would expand our services to include more of those people for whom the support just isn't there, for whom accessing local support is just very difficult. So that's where I would spend the money and just try to alleviate some of that inequality in our local community.
Do you find that the people that come to you, is it any age range? Does it matter, or is it more? Is there a lot of young people?
It's a real mix, actually. I mean, certainly through the pandemic, we've seen a lot more young people. In fact, we've just recently launched a new young people's early intervention program. So the stats in and around young people's mental health, particularly in West Kent, where it's gone up by 28% in the last 2 years. Of young people waiting for statutory support, which is just awful. So we have no choice really but to widen our services to engage with young people. So we're seeing more young people now because obviously that's a new service for us. But in terms of people in their 20s to people in their 70s, people in their 80s, there is no age limit really. We work with lots of different people. Because mental health affects everyone. Absolutely. Poor mental health.
And you said earlier you're finding that not finding, this is what you offer. You're out in the field more and more rather than actually people coming into your centre. And is that like if someone calls you up and they've got a problem and they're really struggling, you just go to the house and talk to them? Is it as simple as that? Or?
No, it's not. I mean, we have our group sessions, we have peer-to-peer sessions, peer support sessions, we have one-to-one counselling, we run creative engagement programmes, and people get to work with professional artists and professional arts organisations. So we've got a whole gamut of programmes. But when I say we're out in the community, we're using those community spaces to deliver our programmes. So people can call us if they need support. They can call us, and we will signpost them to whichever service that we think is most appropriate for them. And that might be that actually we're not delivering it, but we know somebody that is, and we might signpost them to them. Or we might say, actually, it sounds like you would really benefit from a peer support group, and why don't you rock up? We've got one running next Thursday. Pop in. So people can join that. So.
So it's being reactive to whatever however that person comes across to you when they're talking to you about whatever issue or problem they've got going on in their head. If it's something that you feel like is really urgent to help them with, you can help with that as well.
Well, we're not a crisis service, so
Right,
there are programs and services out there that that are specifically for people who are in emotional distress or approaching crisis or in crisis.
Yeah.
And that's the safe havens.
Right.
So you can go to a safe haven. I think the one in Tunbridge Wells is in I'm just trying to think. It's at Brains Matter, the building Brains Matter. Brains Matter. But they've got these safe havens all over Kent.
Right,
so
okay.
if you need that support urgently, I think they're open from 11 p.m. till 6 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Okay.
So
you can guide people to those
absolutely.
resources.
And we do, we get we do get some really challenging phone calls sometimes from people in immense distress.
Yeah.
But the team are all well prepared to understand how to work with those people and how to signpost them to the right places.
Yeah. You stood up at a networking meeting that I was at once at Sankey's in Tunbridge Wells, and you told a story. Forgive me, I don't remember the actual details, but I remember it being something like that, where a young person had called up and they were in distress, and it was the way you reacted to it was incredible, and I've always remembered that. So your day must be, and your team can be quite stressful.
Yeah, it's not always easy, and taking those calls, and the call that you're referring to, it was a young man who called up, and he was sat by the side of a train track.
That's right.
And he was in distress. He'd been sat there for 2 hours, and he'd not talked to anybody about how he was feeling, but he just wanted to end his life, and we managed to get him the support he needed, really quite urgently, and he was okay. He was fine. But it was, the frustrating thing about it is when you get a call like that, and that young man needs help now.
Yes,
and and actually we could get him the crisis support, but then what happens? He's got to wait 6 months to be supported. If he goes on to secondary mental health services. So it's a little bit frustrating that the support isn't there. So what we've been advocating is, give us some money to get those young people seen, as soon as they present themselves to the GP. Yeah. Because if there's a gap between seeing a GP and getting secondary mental health support, let us fill that gap, because we can do that. We can do that brilliantly, and we can work with those people. And we've got evidence to show that this programme has been delivered nationally by Mind. That actually, in some circumstances, people didn't need to go on to secondary mental health support.
Okay.
So we know that the support that we can offer can be life changing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully, people watching this gives them an idea of how you can jump and how you can help people going forward. It's not just a quick fix and going forward with the problem they may have. Sure. Have you got any events coming up or anything like that you would talk about? Or?
Well, we have got the Big Give,
yes.
Which is our Big Give Christmas Challenge appeal. So this is, we go out to appeal on the 3rd of December, and we will be looking for donations from our local community to support our children and young people's early intervention service, so that people, like the young man I was talking about, can get the support that they need. Yeah. So we've got a finite amount of money to run that for the next few months, but when that finishes, that's it. So what we really want to do is we want to galvanise our community to get support so that we can continue that service. Okay. So the Big Give, you can donate. If you were to donate £5,
yes.
There's an opportunity for that to be match funded by a champion that we've got. So it's a donate on between the 3rd and the 10th of December, and that money will be doubled. So match funded by the Big Give itself.
Right.
So I really would invite all of your listeners to donate on that time.
And they do that via your website, or
they can. All the details will be on our website, and we'll certainly have a countdown. It will be probably all over social media if I know our team.
Yes,
there'll be lots of opportunities, and we'll be pushing it out various networks.
The Big Give. Okay, let's look out for that, and we'll share that across our channels as well. So as far as reaching out for people to help you, and obviously with fundraising, but how can people help you more than just the obvious, or is it just get in touch and talk to you, and what is it you're looking for?
Well, there's a number of things actually. So, I mean, the biggest thing that we always need is money. So,
Yes.
obviously, if you can donate, that would be utterly brilliant, and I will be eternally grateful for any donations.
Okay, yeah.
The second thing you can do is to volunteer. Actually,
Right.
we are always looking for people with really good skills, that can come into the organisation and help us to increase our reach and increase what we do. So, there are always volunteer opportunities for people.
Okay.
The third thing I would say is that do go into your local Mind shop. And we have charity shops in Tunbridge Wells and in Tunbridge. Do go in there, and buy something. Shop in there. Christmas is coming. There is no shame in buying from a charity shop.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a magical thing to do. And you're doing a huge amount of good. And the last thing I would say, what was the last thing I was going to say? It's coming. Oh, I forgot.
People forget about charity shops, though. I mean, obviously, they don't forget about them because they're on the high street and they're quite in your face. But forget that it's tied in with something like, where is the Mine one in Tunbridge Wells?
It's just. It's not so far from here, actually.
Okay.
It's about a 2-minute walk.
Right, Mount Pleasant, I think, maybe on the
Mount
hill.
Pleasant Road, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you remembered the fourth thing yet?
I have, and the fourth thing is that absolutely, if you forget the power of you. I think when we are all advocates for good mental health and for well-being, and I think that idea of skilling yourself up you will at some point come across somebody who's distressed, in crisis, feeling not so great about the world, feeling anxious, feeling depressed, and you forget how much power you have as an individual to support that person. So I would always say if you can, as employers, certainly in terms of business leaders, get your team mental health first aid trained,
right.
Get them into some training and just understand the challenges, because we know that in the workforce it's pretty high up on the agenda. Poor mental health can cause all sorts of problems for a business, including productivity and it really does impact the bottom line. So I think the important thing is we run training, we run mental health first aid training, stress awareness, mental health awareness training. Do shout, because we can help you with anything that your business needs, and we run some brilliant stuff. So
okay, that's something for businesses to look out for.
Absolutely.
Then very important, and individuals to just educate themselves more on how they can support someone if they're faced with that, because like you say, it can happen at any point. Someone close to you or someone not close to you, it doesn't matter. You could be walking down the street and someone's in some sort of stress, and if you can help them with that, it's really good. Thanks, Stevie. Thanks for coming in. I've really enjoyed talking to you. You're an inspiration. And
I don't know about that.
No, you are, for the work that you do. Because mental health is horrible, and it's something which we should all get to grips with. We really should. If anyone can help West Kent Mind and Stevie, please go to their website. I'm sure she'd pick the phone up if you call her and want to donate or do anything to help. They'd really appreciate that. So thanks again. And we'll see you for another podcast soon. Thanks, Stevie.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.